Hare Krishna. Today we'll be reading from Sri Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 11. This is the final verse of what is commonly referred to as by the Acharyas as the Chatur Shloki of the Gita, which means the 4 prominent verses of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is the culmination of those 4 verses. So that's what we'll be speaking on today. Please repeat. Tesham evanukam partam.
Tesham evanukam partam.
Aham agyanajam tamaha.
Aham agyanajam tamaha.
Nashayam yamabhavasto.
Nashayami atmabhavasto.
Jnanadipena vashvata.
Jnanadipena vashvata.
Tesham evanukam partam.
Tesham evanukam partam. Jam tamaha
nashayam yamabhavasto
nashayam yamabhavasto
jnanadipena vashvata
jnanadipena vashvata
Tesham evanukam partam
Vaishnavis.
Tesham evanukam partham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayam yatmabhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata Tesham evanukam partham ajnanajam tamaha nashayam yatmabhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata.
Word for word, please repeat. Tesham. For them. Eva. Certainly. Anukampa partam. To show special mercy. Aham. I. Ajnanajam. Due to ignorance. Tamaha. Darkness. Nashayami. Dispel. Atmabhava. Within their hearts. Situated. Jnana. Of knowledge. Dipena. With the lamp. Bhasvata. Glowing. Translation and purport by Svarupa. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Purport. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not a fact. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literature or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. Cannot be without knowledge, yes. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education, and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the supreme truth, the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, simply by speculating. For the supreme truth is so great that it is not possible to understand him or to achieve him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, he is not a lover of the supreme truth. And if he is not devoted, he is not a lover of the supreme truth. he will never understand Krishna or the Supreme Truth. Only by devotional service to the Supreme Truth, Krishna, pleased, and by his inconceivable energy, he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotees. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. So ends the purport. I'll read the translation one more time. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Darati Swaprantikam Vancha Kalpatrubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevaja Patidanam Pavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, as I mentioned before, just when we were just starting, I mentioned that this verse is the culmination of the Chaturshloki Gita, as it's commonly referred to as by the Acharyas. And so there's a lot going on in these verses. So just so I keep saying the culmination, but just so we know what it's culminating, I'm just going to go ahead and read the translation of the previous three verses and then this one again, so we know what's going on. And to give some context to what's going on in the Bhagavad Gita generally, obviously we know Krishna and Arjuna are speaking on the battlefield. Arjuna has lost composure due to miserly weakness of heart, as it says in one of the texts, because he's more concerned with his desire and his own personal gratification, maybe not sense gratification per se, of what literally pleases his senses, but certainly for his personal gratification, he's more concerned with that over his duty and even over what Krishna wants to be done at one point. And that's kind of what hinges the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna is showing, no, you do this because I want you to do this. So, where we are here is Krishna has just explained the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is fully focused on devotional service. And the Acharyas all say that the 9th and 10th chapters are actually, they're like the inner kernel of the Bhagavad Gita. They're the really important part, and they're protected on either side by all the remaining chapters. So the 9th and 10th, and then of even those two chapters, again, these 4 verses are really considered to really carry the true message of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, all the verses do, but okay, so I'm going to read the translations quickly. So the first verse is 10.8. It says, I am the source of the spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all of their hearts. Text 9 says, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, and their lives are fully devoted to my service. They derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Then text 10 says, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And then the verse we just did. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Yeah, I ended that wrong. The darkness born of ignorance. Yeah, that was it. So that's your chapter shloki. And there's a lot going on here, as Prabhupada spends around altogether 8 to 10 pages on the purports of these 4 verses. And but what I want to focus on, there's a lot of things to focus on in this verse. Prabhupada really, especially this last verse, he really expands it out very nicely. But I want to focus on one thing in particular. And this is how Prabhupada keeps putting the devotional service above speculation and argument, or even above the pursuit of knowledge, right? And even, and this can be quite hard to understand, even above taking advantage of, I'll tell you, taking advantage of our literatures or one's spiritual master, right? So our literatures like the Bhagavad Gita and our spiritual master, right? So even if someone is not doing that, if he is sincere in his devotional service, then Krishna will grant him knowledge from within his heart, and he will be able to progress. He will, to show the special mercy, well, in the previous verse it says, to those who are constantly devoted to serving with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So, with that singular thing in place, devotional service, we can get the knowledge, we'll be directly given the knowledge into our heart, the darkness will be dissipated, we'll be given the knowledge by which we can come to Krishna. Right? So this is a very wonderful thing. This is arguably the most wonderful thing that you'll ever hear. Right? That by devotional service, excluding all else, we can achieve perfection. Right? This is the process that Prabhupada came to talk about. This is the process that Prabhupada came to give, and that he showed us. Right? And of course, the highest form of devotional service, or not the highest, certainly very much up there, and the easiest form of devotional service is the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is kind of this is a little bit that I want to focus on with today. So why? This is always a good question we can ask ourselves if we feel like we're ever reading Prabhupada's books or going through the process, starting to get a little bit ritualistic, dogmatic, thoughtless. Just asking why is a really, really quick way to sharpen things up. So why? Why is that? Why is it that devotional service is better than the pursuit of knowledge, better than listening to your spiritual master, better than reading our Vedic literatures? Right? There's a lot of things that we could find that will, there's a lot of things we could think about that might dispute that. Right? So why? This isn't rhetorical.
It's the conclusion.
It's the conclusion. Okay. Well, you want to elaborate on that?
Serving the Lord is the conclusion of all.
Okay, right. So that's the ultimate goal of everything. So yes, very good point. Probably the main point. Anyone else? Any takers? Yes.
Because ultimately it's a relationship, and from the beginning it's a relationship.
Right. Yes. Very good. Yeah, because it's the only thing that's real in a sense is our relationship with Krishna. So yeah, okay, good. Anyone else? Anyone else want to? Yes?
It's the Yuga Dharma. For this age, it's the process that's recommended.
Right? So specifically the chanting of Hare Krishna, yeah, that's the process that Krishna has made it. Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier for you to go back to God if you just do this. You know, he organized it that way. So that's just good. Yes, very nice. So I want to elaborate a little bit on what Prabhu said, and then maybe what both of you said. But you said that it's the goal, right? It's the goal. And I was thinking about this yesterday, that for me, at least, that was the easiest way to understand why devotional service is more important than knowledge. Because we're sitting here in this class and we're gaining knowledge, right? So often we're about to do something wrong, and what stops us is knowledge. right? We know about Krishna, or we know about how to keep ourselves pure. We know about the dangers of the material world, and this is so often what keeps us on the right track. You know, what can keep us off the beaten path of the material world and really headed in the right direction is this knowledge. So, why is this verse, knowledge. You know, like, yeah, it's alright, but no, not that important. Right, well, first of all, Prabhupada does specify speculative knowledge and arguments. These are the first things to get kicked out. But then, he places devotional service on a pinnacle above our literatures and spiritual mastery. Or rather, in following the spiritual master. The instructions of the spiritual master, right? He places devotional service above that. So then that, no one's going to say that it's speculative or argumentative to be following what the Bhagavad Gita says, the knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge from the spiritual master. No one, I don't think, would make that argument. Right? And yet still devotional service is above that, and I think we can safely conclude that the reason is because devotional service is the end game. No one acquires knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Knowledge is acquired to understand and to be able to properly perform an activity, to understand and be able to properly reach a goal. There are some people who do enjoy simply the cultivation of knowledge, but that is neither considered the highest enjoyment, nor is that considered the most productive enjoyment. Right? By just society in general, no one thinks too highly of the people who just build castles in the sky with all of their knowledge. It's like, you can pat them on the back, but everyone wants that knowledge to be doing something, to be benefiting someone. Right? To be of welfare to society. So knowledge is a means. And if we look in the material world, and most of our life, all of it is just a means for something. Oftentimes, too often, it's simply a means to not suffer. Right? So much of what we do in the material world, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, these four things practically are simply a means to push back on suffering, to build some boundaries, to protect ourselves a little bit. We defend ourselves, we keep our bodies fit, we sleep enough. It's just to push back against suffering, because sometimes you might feel like doing nothing, but you can't do nothing. Krishna says the living entity cannot stop acting, not even for a moment. And the proof of this is that even if you put yourself in a very comfortable environment in your room with the AC on, with your favorite book, or whatever it is you do, if you just stay like that and you don't do anything, within 6 hours, 1 day, 2 days, you'll be in immense suffering. You won't have eaten, right? You'll be very hungry, you'll be very thirsty, you'll be very weak, you'll be very frustrated. You may have to use the bathroom, you'll be itchy, you'll need to move around, you need something. So you can't, just to evade pain, we have to be active. Right? So much of what we're doing in the material world is simply a means to evade pain. Right? And then if we're really lucky, then we're doing some things to pursue pleasure. Right? We're doing some things that are actually trying to positively impact our life, to positively make us happy. So everything that we're doing is simply a means to achieve an end. And devotional service is the singular exception to that. Or even rasa. Let's say relationship is a singular exception. What's the word? Well, exception. It's a singular exception to that. In the material world, even, if you have a very close relationship with your father, with your son, with your mother, whatever, with some very close, generally considered a selfless relationship, then you might be in that relationship simply to further that relationship. Right? If you're very lucky. If you're very lucky, like Prabhupada says that the love of the mother for her son is considered the most pure love, or not for her son, for a child. It's considered the most pure love that you can find in the material world. So that might be an example of something that they're in it just for the thing. They're loving their son, or you're loving your friend, or something, simply to continue and to deepen that loving of your son or your friend or whoever it is. And yet, even that's not perfect. In fact, it's far from perfect, because it's kind of like a big, mean joke. Because you can love your son, you can love your friend, but I mean, sorry to be morbid, but you're going to die, and so are they. You know, it's all going to go away. It's all temporary. It's all temporary. So everything we do for the material world, if we search and search and search, we might find something worth meaning. Right? Any story that carries like a good moral or any hero or anything, we all know what they're fighting for. They're fighting for to protect the innocent, they're fighting for the people that they love. And this inspires us. So even when we finally find something, it is very rare to see an actual hero and to really feel that triumph. But if you actually do find that, after searching for so long in the material world, what's its ultimate value? Not a lot. It's a blip in time on the grand scheme of things. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all of these kings, and never in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna is saying that we've been here forever, we're going to be here forever, I've been here forever, they've been here forever, we've all been here forever, you're all going to be here forever. Right? So, even if you have a wonderful relationship, even if you do something heroic for your entire life somehow, for 85, 100 years, right? Compared to forever in both directions, it's not a lot. You're not really getting a lot out of it. And that's why Prabhupada, and at least from one point of view, I was trying to look at this from somewhat, like I said, I was asking myself why, and I was trying to find a logical answer. And this was the logical answer that satisfied me, was that, that's why Prabhupada can just 100% stress, devotional service is the only thing that's worth it. No, it's more important than this, it's more important than that. Because A, it's eternal. Right? Because it is the living entity, because it is actually us, the soul, interacting with Krishna, and we're both eternal, as we just said in that previous verse, then the relationship that builds between us is also eternal. So a little bit of devotional service, that's never going away. Prabhupada said it's like an eternal bank account. You put 1% in this lifetime, next lifetime you start out at 2%. Right? It doesn't go away. So, because of that, because of its eternality, and because it is itself the ultimate, the ends are the means. Right? This is something that when you study Vaishnava philosophy, according to the way that kind of Bhaktivinoda Thakur broke it down, then you get to, so you break down so first is Sambandha. In Sambandha, you're figuring out what the field of activities is. There's the living entities, that's all of us, right? There's the material world, that's the field that we're all interacting in, usually dead matter, not a lot going on. And then there's God. And then there's how we all interact. And that's sort of your kind of core substance of what's going on here. There's those three elements. The Upanishads call them Chit, Achit, Ishwar. So the living entity, or living things, dead things, and God, essentially. Right? And then there's and then there's what we do, right? And then what we achieve by doing that. So in Sanskrit, these are called sadhana and sadhya. So sadhana is the path of perfection, and sadhya is perfection itself. And then, so then of course we know that the path of perfection is devotional service, but what are we achieving by devotional service? Anyone? Not rhetorical. Yes?
In the Bhagavatam it says, Vasudevi Bhagavati, you get causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Okay, so that's a really good point. I'm going to segue into that in a second. She just said, that's my mom, she just said that you get causeless, what was it? Knowledge and detachment simply by doing devotional service. So this shows that devotional service spawns knowledge. Knowledge doesn't spawn devotional service. Right? So that's another reason you can't get bhakti by speculating about it, because knowledge is a derivative of bhakti. It's not that bhakti is a derivative of knowledge. Right? So you can't get the bigger group by focusing in on a smaller group. But if you get the whole big group, then you'll get everything inside of it as well. It's like if you're governor of Mississippi, you're not president of the United States. But if you're president of the United States, you have a lot of say on what happens in Mississippi. Right? So similarly, if you have devotional service, you'll get knowledge also. So that's a very good point. But the Acharyas make it clear, this is what I was going to say before he said that, is that the only thing that we want from devotional service is devotional service. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says it better than anyone in Shikshashtakam. He says, Nadanam na janam na sundarim kavitam vajagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmani shre bhavatad bhaktir haitaki tvai. Says, I do not want wealth, I do not want followers, I do not want devotional service. Excuse me, he doesn't say that. He says, I do not want beautiful women. And then he said, he doesn't even want liberation. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants janmani shre. He wants birth after birth. Keep me in the material world. I don't care. Mama janmani shre. Bhavadad bhaktir haitaki. Please give me just causeless, unconditional devotional service to your lotus feet. And that's all he wants. From what? From his devotional service. Right? So that's perfection. That's perfect. Imagine if you sat down and there was unlimited ice cream, and all you wanted from that ice cream was to eat more ice cream. Every bite of ice cream you had, you just wanted more ice cream. Instead of like after a bowl, you're like, yeah, no. Right? Even if it's really good. You're immediately satiated. In devotional service, you're not satiated. You're never satiated, and this can also sound very bad because we're so used to scarcity in the material world. We say, oh, geez, you're never satiated. Well, that's like drinking salt water. You know, it's like you just want to keep drinking, and eventually, well, it doesn't end up good for you. But no, you're never satiated, but you're in an ocean, an unlimited ocean of devotional service. So you're never satiated, but there's more than you'll ever be able to conceptualize consuming. Right? So that, from an enjoyment point of view, that's a good situation to be in. Right? That's a nice situation. And so that's why we can, at least me, I don't know if this is going to work for you, you know, you do you. But for me, this can put you at rest. This can give you some peace. That yeah, devotional service is really worth it. Because all we want from devotional service is more devotional service. Prabhupada, for those of you who have met him, which isn't, you know, some of you are very fortunate, you always hear stories of how happy Srila Prabhupada was. How, you know, not that childish, giddy happy, where, oh, yeah, well, you know, but like that deep ecstasy. Prabhupada was ecstatic. He was ecstatic. And all he wanted from that ecstasy was to be serving Krishna, and that just gave him more ecstasy. You know, and that's just good. What a perfect situation. There's not a better place to find yourself. So that's why we can be criticized. And Prabhupada says we can be criticized as naive sentimentalists. Right? And he says, first of all, we're not. Right? First he clarifies, no, we're not. You know, Jiva Goswami, the 6 Goswamis, Prakashananda Saraswati, who became a Vaishnava, Sarvabhaumavacharya, who became a Vaishnava. These were the smartest people of the times. Right? And they just put, they placed devotional service through logic and sastra on an indisputable, infallible platform. There is all the requisite philosophy and knowledge there if you're interested in that kind of thing. So Prabhupada first debunks that myth that we're naive sentimentalists. We're not. Right? We're really, really, really smart. But after he does that, he says, but even if you, he basically says, but even if you are, you know, even if you don't really know what's going on, and you're not being intelligent enough to really read yourself up on all that we got here, you know, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Satsudharma, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rita Bhagavatamrita, you know, the list goes on just within like our Gaudiya Vaishnava little niche. The list goes on, you know. And then, even if you're not doing that, even if you're not that, your spiritual master, he's telling you to do stuff and you're kind of nodding along, but you're not really in the game, you know, you're not really following those instructions sincerely. But if you're sincere about getting devotional service, about doing devotional service, Krishna himself will help you within his heart. Right? Krishna himself will guide you within his heart for the purpose, give them the understanding by which they can come to me. Not just guide us
so that we do well. Guide us in a purposeful way. That yes, come back to me. Here's what you need. Here's the knowledge you need. Right? So, yes. Just a quick disclaimer before I open this. That's all I really want to talk about. A quick disclaimer before I open this up for questions and comments. This is not at all advocating, as will be clear if you remember the purport, if you want to read it again. This is not at all advocating that, oh, cool, I don't have to read the books or listen to my spiritual master, I just have to be sincere. Right? Because that's not very sincere. But this is putting the horse before the cart. And saying that when push comes to shove, devotional service is what matters. Devotional service is what's going to take you back to God. And the only reason we're doing devotional service is to love Krishna and keep doing devotional service. That's it. So, yeah, all in here. Any questions or comments from the assembled personages?
There's that Bhagavatam verse. I don't know it. I think you might read Anya Vilasa, something famous Bhagavatam.
Oh, that's Rupa Goswami has that in Bhagavatam. Yeah, Anyabilashita Shinyam Gyana Karma Gyanavitam Anukuyana Krishnana Shivanam Bhakti. Oh, you want me to say what it means?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I never memorized the meaning, but I know what it means, basically, bear with me. Okay. So, Anyabilashita Shinyam, that means kicking out all other desires. Anyabilashita means other desires, literally. Anyabilashita shunyam, so completely negating all other desires. Anyabilashita shunyam. Jnana karma jnanamritam, kicking out jnana and karma. So your focus is anukulyena Krishna, adopting a way of life which is favorable to Krishna. Everything we do, we act in a way that's favorable to Krishna. Anukulyena Krishnanu shilanam. Bhaktir uttamam. That is called pure devotional service. That is called perfect bhakti. That's it? That's all you want to do? Okay. Cool. Anyone else? Have some question, comment, disagreement? Yes?
So that means, like, if a person leaves Krishna consciousness and say they're doing whatever, they I don't know if they were offensive, but let's say they left the movement. And so it says in Bhagavad Gita, right, a little advancement on this path, there's no loss. So does that mean that person, like Prabhupada one time said, oh, this one devotee will not get a chance for like, how many millions?
That his relationship with his Guru.
Yes, and I think because he was offensive, and so there's a fine line between just...
Certainly. I mean, there's always a fine line. It's true. And so first of all, and it's not that fine of a line, first of all. If you're committing offenses, that's a different thing. One thing is getting distracted by devotional service, by the material world, and by our previous habits, and by bad association, getting distracted, being pulled away from Krishna. We hear Krishna talks about that in Bhagavad Gita. Let me find the verse. I think it's right around here. I'll find it for you. Abhichet Siddharacha Bhajate Mamananyabat Sadar Eva Samantavya Samyagyavastito Hisaha. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is considered to be saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Right? So that means that if from a moral point of view, right, if from a legal point of view, someone just loses it, someone falls away, well, that's to be expected. We're in an insane asylum for all means and purposes. So if someone runs away from devotional service, still we should respect them as a devotee. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily they won't suffer for what they've done. There's a really nice story in this connection, if I may. There's a story in India. There's this person, and they called him Angulimala. Now, anyone who knows Indian language, Anguli usually refers to a little finger, and Mala refers to a garland. So a garland of little fingers. How does someone get that name? That's what I'm about to tell you. So, Angulimala was a first-class student, super smart, really, really great kid. And then he went to a Gurukul, which was the system of education at that time, the mainstream system of education in India.
He went to a Gurukul and he started studying under a very qualified teacher, and he was learning everything, and boom, he was moving quick. You know, he was learning stuff that other kids took 2 years to learn, he knew in a few weeks. And boom, he was moving through it. Within a year, he was a top student. Great kid. Super respectful, super... Now these kids, they started getting really envious. And even though he was a nice guy, it wasn't like he was trying to be a jerk to them, but that sometimes makes it even worse. You know, like, it's one thing if someone's like, they're really successful, but they're all stuck up and this and that, and it's like, what a jerk. We don't care about him. But he was a genuinely nice person, and at the same time, he was just really good, so there was nothing to hate him for, which made them hate him even more, you know? So they got really sick of this guy, so they framed him. They framed him. First they started whispering rumors about how he talks behind his spiritual master's back, saying that, implying that he's more intelligent even than his teacher. They started making this up, which was totally untrue. It wasn't true at all. He didn't think like that. And then they really framed him, I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact instance, but they really framed him so that he was in a really compromised, it looked like he had gotten himself into a compromised situation, which he hadn't. They set him up for it. And because they had been whispering these kind of lies into his teacher's ear for a few months, then he cracked, and the teacher sent him away. And he tried to explain himself, and then the teacher, he was in the anger of the moment, he sent him away. Later he regretted it, but he was already gone. He had sent him away. And now Angulimala, being a decent kid, you know, to help pull him under that pressure, the first thing he did, he said, well, I'm just going to try and go to another school. So he started going to different teachers to explain, and no one even wanted to see him. The word spread like wildfire that this insubordinate student thinks he's better than his teacher and was cast out. We're not going to deal with this kid. You know, it serves him right. So he went from school to school to school to school to school to school. Kicked out of everyone. Then he went home. And by the time he got home, his reputation preceded him. And his parents heard that he got kicked out of the school. He had offended his teacher and got kicked out of the school, which is a very big deal, especially in the Vedic context. And not only that, then he had gotten kicked out of multiple schools. So all over the land, people were talking about this useless student and this proud upstart. And his parents were so disgraced when he came home, they didn't even want to talk to him. So this kid had nowhere to go. And then he snapped. And then he took up arms against the world that had wronged him so terribly. And he just stopped caring. He wanted to start living in the woods. He was very intelligent. He made it once ago. And then he just started terrorizing innocent people. People coming through the woods, travelers. And he would terrorize them. And sometimes he'd kill them. Sometimes he'd let them go to spread the stories of how terrible this person had become. But always, whether he killed them or whether he let them go, when he was revenging himself on the world, he would cut off one of their little fingers. And he would put it on his neck. And like this, he was getting a full garland at one point. Kind of rough, I know. Right, so this goes on for years and years and years. And then one day, the king, the actual king in the area, he goes, enough is, and he sent individuals after him. Nothing. The kid's too smart and too vengeful, he just wants to survive long enough to make other people suffer like he did, basically. Just nothing but hate in this kid. Not even a kid anymore, he's an adult now. He'd trick them, he'd either hide, or if there was a few enough of them, he'd set some trap for them, kill them, cut off their finger. It was getting really terrible. And this was on one of the major highways going through, a major trade highway going through the forest. So a lot of people go through there. It was becoming terrible. It was starting to mess with the economy. It was disrupting trade. It was really messing things up. So the king said, all right, enough's enough. So he himself led a group of his finest soldiers, and he went through the forest. And this Angulimala, in the meantime, he heard what was going on, and he didn't care. He said, all right, fine. If it takes the king to come down here and mess with me, I guess I did a pretty decent job at messing with everyone else. So he was just going to stick it out. But in the meantime, while the king's on his way, he sees a sadhu walking by. Really, you can just look at him and like, you feel peaceful, that kind of person. And that just made him so angry, because he was so full of hate and revenge that when he saw someone who was so carefree and so genuinely happy, he wanted to get rid of it, much like his classmates wanted to get rid of him when he was a kid. So then he charged after this guy with a knife, and he was chasing him. He was chasing him. And he couldn't catch up to him. He was gaining on him slowly, even though this person was seemingly walking carefully. So when he finally catches up to him, he's really worked up a sweat, he's exhausted, he swings his sword at him and goes right through him. Doesn't do anything. He's totally confused. He tries again, he's really trying to kill him and nothing, he punches him, doesn't seem to do anything, the sword just sticks right through him, pulls him out, he's fine. It's starting to mess with him, and then he's venting all his rage and getting more angry, trying to kill this person, and it's not working. It's just not working. The guy's not dying. So finally, who are you? And like, if you're powerful enough to not die, why are you letting me even do this? What's going on? He was so confused by the situation, as you would be, right? He was very confused. And then finally, this person said, he tells him in the course of the conversation, he's very humble, but then it comes out he's Buddha. This was at the time of Buddha, some 2,500 years ago. This was Buddha. And he saw how peaceful, and he saw that in his eyes that this was something, when he was looking at him and when he was telling him who he was, then he saw that this person bore no malice against him. Even though he just chased him down, he was trying to kill him, he was just happy to see him. And he felt some compassion, some sorrow for him, which the whole world stopped feeling for him apparently a long time ago. Right? And then immediately, he fell at this person's feet. And he just started crying because he saw that this is someone who, even though I just tried to kill him, he doesn't hate me at all. In fact, he really cares about me. He just really felt that. And then he followed him home to wherever it was that he was going. And then he went to the monastery. And he saw so many other people like that, who even they had heard of him, because everyone had heard of him. They had heard of him. And no one there shuddered away from him. Everyone just welcomed him. Come. You're okay. You're with Buddha now. Everything's going to be all right. And he was just, he decided, I'm giving up my old way of life. He repented. He told Buddha everything. And he shaved up. He became a monk. And now the king, in the meantime, is marching with his army. And he can't find him anywhere. So he starts searching throughout the forest. And then he reached this one hermitage, this place where Buddha was. And he asks, has someone come through here? And everyone's very honest with him. They say, oh yes, Buddha, he has come. He came. And he said, what? Let me see him immediately. And then the king saw him. And he saw him sitting next to Buddha and just a perfectly sincere disciple. And the king looked over it and he thought about it and he spoke with Buddha. And he said, as long as he's your disciple, I will let him stay. Maybe he will find a way to change, to redeem himself for all the bad he has done. Maybe he'll find a way under your tutelage. The king very much respected Buddha. And then, so he withdrew his whole army and he let him go. Right? So I'm going to interlude. Right? So the moral that we can get from this story is, look, this person who was the most abominable person, right, who was killing senselessly for no reason for many years, the king himself then said, oh, look, he has become a saintly person, and he withdrew. Right? So this is the first thing that we can learn from this, that a qualified leader, if he can see that someone has actually changed, actually repented, then he takes that into consideration, as the king did. Anyway, now we'll continue with the story. Now, as time went on, then he started adopting, first he was just like Buddha's little lapdog. He was always with him. But then he just started becoming more of just one of the disciples there. So he started taking part in the ashram duties. And one of the things that they would do is they would go begging door to door. They would go to local villages and they would go begging door to door. That was how they would feed themselves. So then he started begging. He started going begging door to door. And
the first house, everyone's kind of, anyway, whatever, they give me sadhu, whatever. And then so they give him a little bit of rice chapati, whatever. And then he's going, but by the time he's halfway through the village, all these previous houses are going, is that a Gulama? It's like, we've all heard what this guy looks like. He's big, strong, battle scars, this and that. And then the whole village riled up by the end of the village, and they said, this guy thinks, some of them had people, friends, family who had been killed or who had been assaulted by this person. They said, this guy thinks he can just go shave up and he's A-okay? Well, no. So the whole village came together, massacred him, just beat him to him. I mean, I'm sorry, this is a dark story, but anyways, they beat him to the point of death. He was almost dead. And then they left him in the street to die, essentially. And so he's laying there, and then Buddha noticed all of his other disciples came back. And Angulimala did not come back. Right? So he went out to look for him. So then in the evening, it's getting dark, and he goes and he sees him laying there on the village street, beat almost to death. And Buddha goes up to him, he takes his head, puts it on his lap. And Angulimala was just so happy to see Buddha before he died. And then Buddha said, so, are you angry at these people? And Angulimala said, no. I had it coming. I deserved it. And Buddha, now this is interesting, Buddha said, yeah, you did. Let's be honest here. You had this coming. But still, he achieved perfection. He died looking at Lord Buddha with his heart full of forgiveness. Right? And as the story goes, it's a Buddhist story, but as the story goes, then he achieved perfection. In whatever context that is for them, I don't know. Right? But they say he achieved perfection. So, this is a really long story to answer a pretty simple question. So to answer your question, yeah, their devotional service doesn't go away because they did something abominable. We can still respect them as Vaishnavas. Right? Just as the king saw that this person now, he's just as innocent and wonderful, even more so than he was when he was a little kid, the king let it go. Right? But, at the same time, if those people, suffer from the laws of the material world, if they get prosecuted or when material nature kicks in and justice is given, then no one should be complaining. We shouldn't, so if someone does something wrong, they sincerely repent. We understand that they're still a devotee. Yet at the same time, if they suffer the repercussions from what they did wrong, we understand, just like Buddha did, we understand that, yeah, he had to come. Does that make sense? Yeah? So anyway, I thought that was a pretty decent story. Anyone else? I think we have to end pretty soon. So if there's any final question or comment, we would happily take it. Or disagreement, of course, always. No? Okay. Jai Shri Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Tagore.